All right, if you give me your first and last name and age.
Andrew Truong, 19.
All right, how do you spell Truong?
Truong.
Thank you. All right. When you eat breakfast, do you prefer savory or sweet options?
Savory.
All right. And what is your favorite meal for breakfast?
Probably eggs, toast, and bacon.
All right. What does your average breakfast consist of?
Oatmeal, sometimes cereal, and then
Sorry about that. I just got lost. Let's see. Let's go back to your favorite meal for breakfast.
eggs, bacon, and toast.
Thank you. And then what does your average breakfast consist of?
Anywhere ranging from oatmeal to Pop-Tarts to cereal.
All right. What should your ideal breakfast consist of?
Probably like dairy, some kind of protein, and then fruit.
All right. How often do you currently eat breakfast?
Every day, 7 days a week.
Thinking of times when you've skipped breakfast, what factors played a role?
Time, rushing to class.
How do you feel throughout the day when you eat breakfast compared to skipping breakfast?
I'm not sure I notice a difference, but I do feel like towards the end of the day I tire out faster when I don't eat breakfast.
All right. Going back to when you were a teenager, how often did you have breakfast?
7 days a week, every day.
What would you eat for breakfast as a teenager?
Probably like eggs, maybe leftovers. Same thing I do now.
Were there any internal or external factors that made you skip a breakfast as a teen?
No, maybe sometimes I just wake up late, and it's around lunchtime, and then I eat then. Sleep schedule is weird, so it depends on how you define breakfast, whether it's in the morning or it's their first meal of the day.
Mm-hmm. Bring it back to the present. What factors do you think would prevent a teenager from eating breakfast?
Rushing, financial reasons, just like, I guess, eating problems as well.
Going back, what importance, if any, does eating breakfast have on a teenager's day?
For me, I as a teenager, I just ate a lot. So it's just something to get me filled, and that way I'm not thinking about food and rather focusing on something else like homework or studies.
And thank you for answering them. Do you know why it's called breakfast?
I feel like I've heard the origin before, but I don't remember it right now.
It's because you're breaking your night fast.
Okay, yeah, that does sound familiar.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, again?
My name?
Yeah.
Luke. I'm 24.
And your last name?
Luke Olson.
Olson, all right. All right. When you eat breakfast, do you prefer savory or sweet options?
Savory.
Savory, all right. What is your favorite meal for breakfast?
I'll see, now I'm going to contradict myself. I'm going to say French toast.
That's fine. Presently, what does your average breakfast consist of?
Toast and eggs.
What should your ideal breakfast consist of?
Toast and eggs.
All right. How often do you currently eat breakfast?
Every morning.
Great. Thinking of times when you have skipped breakfast, what factors played a role?
Didn't have time.
How do you feel throughout the day when you ate breakfast compared to skipping breakfast?
I'm hungrier when I skip breakfast.
When you were a teenager, how often did you have breakfast?
Every day.
What would you eat for breakfast as a teenager?
Toast and eggs.
Were there any internal or external factors that made you skip breakfast as a teen?
If I skipped, it was probably because my mom wasn't there to make it for me.
What would have needed to happen to have you eating breakfast 7 days a week as a teen?
I think I did pretty much eat 7 days a week, so it was my mom making the breakfast for me, and it just being ready when I got up.
All right. present day, what factors do you think would prevent a teenager from eating breakfast?
Probably the same. Like if there isn't someone there to make it for them, they have to do it themselves. Probably not giving themselves enough time in the morning.
And do you think there's any internal or external factors that would affect today's teens from eating breakfast?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like why they would choose, like if they had weight concerns or
okay.
if they just didn't have time?
Yeah, I guess like that could be a consideration. That was never really a thought for me, so wouldn't have thought of it.
And what importance does eating breakfast have on a teenager's day?
I mean, it helps give you energy for the first part of your day. People say that it like helps kickstart your metabolism. I don't really know how that works, but that's what I've heard.
All right. And then finally, do you know why it's called breakfast?
I have no idea.
All right. It's because it breaks your overnight fast.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
All right. What's your first and last name and age?
Fernando Martinez, age 25.
All right. When you eat breakfast, do you prefer savory or sweet options?
Sweet.
And what's your favorite meal for breakfast?
Waffles.
What does your average breakfast consist of?
A sweet with coffee.
What should your ideal breakfast consist of?
Eggs and bacon.
How often do you currently eat breakfast?
Once a week.
Thinking of times when you've skipped breakfast, what factors played a role?
Time.
How do you feel throughout the day when you ate breakfast compared to skipping?
There wasn't much of a difference, honestly.
Let's go back to when you were a teenager. How often did you have breakfast?
Every morning.
That's good. What would you eat for breakfast as a teenager?
Cereal or a sandwich.
Were there any internal or external factors that made you skip a breakfast?
Just really time constraints.
Bringing it back to the present, what factors do you think prevent teenagers from eating breakfast?
The access to it.
And what importance, if any, does eating breakfast have on a teenager's day?
I think it'll definitely improve their mood.
All right. And do you know why the meal is called breakfast?
Because it breaks the fast from the night.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. All right. Could you please give your first name, last name, and age?
My name's Nicole Davis, and I'm 31 years old.
All right. And when you eat breakfast, do you prefer savory or sweet options?
I prefer savory options.
And what's your favorite meal for breakfast?
My favorite meal is eggs Benedict. No English muffin on hash browns.
Presently, what does your average breakfast consist of?
I usually have a fruit smoothie in the morning with protein.
What should your ideal breakfast consist of?
I feel like a fruit smoothie's pretty good with protein in it.
How often do you currently eat breakfast?
Almost every morning. 5 out of the 7 days a week.
Thinking of times when you've skipped breakfast, what factors played a role?
Time.
How do you feel throughout the day when you ate breakfast compared to skipping breakfast?
I think when I eat breakfast in the morning, I don't snack as much throughout the day, and I have more energy in the morning.
Okay. Back to when you were a teenager, how often did you have breakfast?
Never.
When you did have breakfast, what would you eat?
I think I typically had cereal or a bagel for breakfast.
All right. Were there any internal or external factors that made you skip breakfast?
Laziness, probably.
What would have needed to happen for you to have breakfast 7 days a week as a teenager?
My mom to cook it and put it in front of me.
Okay. Coming back to the present, what factors do you think prevent teenagers from eating breakfast today?
I think them being lazy, and then also I think time, and then knowledge of the importance of eating breakfast.
All right. Speaking of importance, what importance, if any, does eating breakfast have on a teenager's day?
It's the most important meal of the day, and it kind of gives them energy throughout the rest of the day. So I think if you eat breakfast, you will make better decisions throughout the day. Food choices and everything.
Okay. And then finally, do you know why the meal's called breakfast?
I have no idea why it's called breakfast.
Because it breaks your night fast.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, would you be able to give me your name and age?
Sure, I'm John, and I'm 23.
And your last name?
Abramson.
All right. When you eat breakfast, do you prefer savory or sweet options?
Savory options.
And what is your favorite meal for breakfast?
Bacon and eggs, honestly, just the classic. It's probably my favorite.
Yeah. What does your average breakfast consist of?
Usually it's a bowl of cereal and a piece of fruit, something like that.
Sounds great. What should your ideal breakfast consist of?
Well, ideally I'd eat eggs, something else with more protein in it, but ideally, yeah.
How often do you eat breakfast?
I eat breakfast every day.
Thinking of times when you've skipped breakfast, what factors played a role?
In the few times that I have skipped breakfast, I almost always just didn't have enough time to eat breakfast.
Okay. How do you feel throughout the day when you ate breakfast compared to skipping breakfast?
Skipping breakfast, usually more fatigued, not as alert, hungrier, obviously.
Okay. All right, I'd like to go back to when you were a teenager.
Sure.
How often did you have breakfast?
Less often. Still most days, but probably 1 or 2 days out of the week I would skip breakfast.
All right. What would you eat for breakfast as a teenager?
Same thing, usually just a bowl of cereal.
All right. Were there any internal, emotional, or external factors that made you skip breakfast as a teen?
Internal, as in my lack of time management, usually. Yeah.
What would have needed to happen to have you eat breakfast 7 days a week as a teen?
Just giving myself more time in the mornings to get ready and just eat breakfast, really.
All right. Present day, what factors do you think prevent a teenager from eating breakfast?
I think, if anything, early start times might contribute to that, and the fact that teens tend to stay up later just due to, I think body's natural circadian rhythm at that age. So those two things combined, I think, make for teens waking up as late as possible before school starts and not giving themselves enough time to eat breakfast.
That's great. What importance, if any, does eating breakfast have on a teenager's day?
Well, proper nutrition is critical for learning and any sort of growth, really. So breakfast is part of that, I think.
And do you know why they call it breakfast?
No, I don't.
It's breaking your night fast.
Oh, really? Huh, that makes sense. Huh.
All right. If you could give me your first name and last name and age.
Luke Rodgers, 20 years old.
All right. When you eat breakfast, do you prefer savory or sweet options?
Sweet.
All right. What's your favorite meal for breakfast?
It's going to be an egg McMuffin sandwich, sausage egg McMuffin. Homemade, though.
All right. Presently, what does your average breakfast consist of?
Wait a second. I said sweet, and that was a savory answer. What was the question?
What does your average breakfast consist of?
My average breakfast consists of eggs, bacon, and some sort of carbs.
What do you think an ideal breakfast should consist of?
Ideal breakfast should consist of some sort of protein to get your day started. Not a lot of carbohydrates. An ideal actual dish.
Mm-hmm.
Ideal dish. Egg scramble.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often do you currently eat breakfast?
Currently, probably twice a week.
Okay. When you skip breakfast, what factors play a role?
I burn more fat, I feel like.
All right.
I don't know. I just I usually weekdays. I usually don't eat breakfast, and I usually go off till noon, and I eat lunch around noon to 1-ish. So I try to not eat because I know it gets your metabolism going right when you start eating. It starts going. So I just usually hold off.
How do you feel throughout the day when you eat breakfast compared to skipping breakfast?
Not a difference. Not a difference. If I skip breakfast, I usually drink a lot of water. So I drink water throughout the day to fill my stomach. And if I eat breakfast, then I already have a full stomach, supposedly, and so I don't drink as much water. So I do it to stay hydrated, and that's the reason why I skip.
Back throughout your teenage years, how often did you have breakfast?
A lot more often. I would have it at least 3 to 4 times a week. In the mornings, at least during high school, I would actually make a solid breakfast consisting of, eggs, bacon, avocado, egg McMuffin style. Yeah.
Were there any internal or external factors that would make you skip a breakfast?
Yeah, I would just, if I was trying to lose weight, I've been back and forth. It's like, I actually don't know the actual, science behind it, but if you supposedly skip breakfast, you're still burning all the calories from the night before, I guess, and so your body is, burning more calories. But at the same time, CrossFitters are like, I'd eat breakfast at 4 in the morning, a full plate of breakfast, that gets my metabolism going, and then supposedly they'll be burning more calories because their metabolism is going. So I don't know if I'm carrying on my burning through the night and then carrying it on, not eating food, kind of fasting in the morning. I don't know if that's making me lose more weight, or eating in the morning, which gets your stomach and metabolism going. So I'm still curious on to figure that out.
Okay. Is there anything that would have needed to happen to have you eat breakfast 7 days a week as a teenager?
Having my mom make it for me, probably.
Right.
No. So I think it's just by choice. I would never not, make it because I didn't want to.
What do you think prevents teenagers today from eating breakfast?
Money. I would say just the resources to do it, or just laziness. A lot of people are just like, I just don't have time to. Time, resources, and yeah.
All right.
Just laziness.
What importance do you think eating breakfast has on a teenager's day?
Yeah, teenagers are growing. They're trying to get bigger. They're trying to, be an adult and grow up. And obviously getting more fuel to the body. I see food as fuel. So if you have enough fuel to last you through the night. Right now I have enough fuel that I don't eat breakfast, and it can extend all the way till, noon. And that's when I start to get low in energy. So when it definitely boosts energy levels, especially if you're learning in the morning and doing a lot of early morning studying, and it definitely gives energy back to the body and replenishes it, and helps, I'm sure, cognitive functions in the brain.
All right. And last up, do you know why it's called breakfast?
Breakfast? No, I don't.
Because it breaks your nightly fast.
Oh, got it. That's good to know.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.